What's going on, everybody? My name is Nikki, and today we'll be breaking down at least one tip with every character in Killer Instinct. Whether you're trying to find your main character or you're trying to become a jack of all trades, this is the perfect video for you. But as always, before we get into the video, remember to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, remember to ring the notification bell, and leave me a comment in the comment section below, letting me know what you'd like to see next. Our first character on our list is Jago. What is the one thing that separates this character from everyone else? Life regeneration. Having the ability to get life back from landing your fireballs is huge. It means that you can often get a third instinct pop, which is normally impossible for most characters. Understanding how you can use your instinct pop itself to get that life back is crucial. You can DP into instinct pop, then throw fireballs. You can go overhead or low hit confirm into fireballs. Or you can throw your opponent directly into a Shadow Endokuken, which leads into, you guessed it, more fireballs. The next character on our list is Sabrewulf. One of Sabrewulf's biggest strengths that not many players ever seem to mention is his ability to low profile a lot of strong attacks. For instance, Wolf's crouching medium kick is a fantastic way to go under a lot of Fulgore's normals, which if represented properly, means the Fulgore player cannot use some of his most powerful up-close tools, and has to rely on using very specific normals to properly frame trap Wolf. Try going under your opponent's attacks using Crouching Heavy Punch and Slide as well, as you can often gain the advantage by knocking your opponent down or starting a combo with these attacks. Next up, we have Glacius. Glacius is a character that has been on everybody's radar since the pandemic era of KI. Watching players like Skatefast and Alex V succeed with the character, something they do that nets them a ton of damage is understanding the extremely huge instinct cancel window that Puddle Punch provides. Your heavy Puddle Punch is a fully invincible, meterless reversal that is normally insanely punishable on block. But if you have instinct available, this reversal becomes an absolute nightmare to deal with. If you use heavy Puddle Punch and your opponent blocks it, you can pop your instinct insanely late and react to whatever your opponent is doing and get a huge punish. Whether you simply throw the opponent into the corner, use your armor to get a free punish, or crush a low attack with Shadow Cole's shoulder, you will get a ton of value out of this move, no matter what. The next character on our list is Thunder. Thunder has one of the most interesting moves in the game, Ankle Slicer, which is a low attack with special move priority that brings Thunder's hurtbox backwards. A great strategy to use with this move is to use it when you are slightly negative. Let's say you get your opponent to block a triple axe, which is normally minus on block. If your opponent tries to take their turn back with any old normal attack, there is a very good chance that a well-placed ankle slicer could help you avoid the incoming attack. This move is great for making your opponents wake up DPs with as well, while also meeting your opponent with a low attack at the same time. Up next is Shadow Jago. As a character primarily considered one of the most chaotic fighting game characters of all time, why not live up to that reputation? One of the most annoying things about fighting a Shadow Jago is dealing with him at round start. As Shadow Jago, during round start portions of the fight, you want to be dashing at and through your opponent if ever possible. This will cause your opponent to usually panic and get them thinking about what you might be trying to do. Shago's dash can lead to a DP, a dive kick, a throw, and possibly the scariest option of all, the Shadow Jago player might just wait and bait out a risky response. Using this tool to build up your opponent's mental stat can be one of the most frustrating things for entry-level, intermediate, and even some high-level players. Next up, we have Sadira. Sadira is a character who has drastically fallen off of the KI competitive scene, however she can still be a huge threat if played correctly. So many Sadira players are constantly worried about being in the air at all times, that often they forget how good and important their grounded tools are. Sadira's jab is one of the furthest reaching in the game, and is plus on block. Her walk speed is also relatively quick, which can be used when her jump is too risky. Her heavy normals have fantastic range with great hitboxes, and can be used to hit confirm into big combos. Her heavy Recluse special move is a massive damage anti-air, which can be used when Sadira isn't the one jumping for once. It's very clear that this character was designed to excel in the air, but please do not neglect your ground game. The next character on our list is Orchid. Your number one priority as an Orchid player is and always should be getting out your grenade as safely as possible. The best times to get your grenade out as an Orchid player are after landing a throw, your each Nissan ender, or Flick Flack ender. Understanding how you can use this grenade to set up your pressure is your bread and butter. Use this to make your pressure harder to shadow counter, make your each Nissan 50-50 mix-up safe, and make your strike throw game all that much scarier. Next up is Spinal. One of the biggest mistakes I see from up-and-coming Spinal players is not using the skull resources properly. For instance, there's no reason to use Shadow Searing Skull when your opponent already has full instinct. You can instead save this meter if your opponent locks out, and use Shadow Soul Sword to build up a ton of potential damage, or use your meter to use Shadow Bone Shaker to go through a projectile or an incoming throw. There is little to no reason to combo into Searing Skulls when your opponent already has full meter. You can instead save your skulls for run cancel pressure, which can be used to open up your opponent and build even more skulls. Next up is my main character, Fulgore. Although his Fireball teleport mix is clearly cheap and an integral part of his gameplay, it is not always the right answer. There are a few characters in the cast that can avoid this mix-up depending on their resources, or even without any resources. For instance, if you do this mix-up against Glacius when they have meter, no matter what side you teleport on, there's a good chance you will get hit by either Shadow Cold Shoulder or Shadow Puddle Punch. If you try this mix-up against a character like Orchid, she can wake up with her sweep to wake up and low profile underneath your Fireball and knock you down. To avoid this altogether, skip the Fireball, save the spin speed, and simply attempt to meter your opponent when you are invisible. They still have to guess which side you're going to be on, and they won't have the Fireball as a guide. Next up is TJ Combo. What makes a player like Devil May Cry 4 the best TJ in the world? His instinct usage. When TJ is in instinct, his frame data gets significantly buffed. TJ gets reduced startup frames on all of his attacks, making him faster than any other character in the game. And he gets increased block and hit advantage, which means he is mostly always plus on block and can combo in ways that he normally can't outside of instinct. For instance, in instinct, TJ's power line becomes plus 6 on block. You can jail Crouching Light Punch into power line for a free block string that deals big chip damage and force your opponent to guess what is going to come next. If your offense is done correctly, you can absolutely melt through your opponent's life bar. This is much more valuable than saving your instinct for last breath and getting only half of an instinct. Up next is Maya. Defensively, she is one of the most slippery characters in the entire game. Her wake-up options are incredibly underrated. Her light leap kick is invincible and can be converted into a hard-to-break juggle combo. This can also be cancelled into instinct as well to be made safe on block and get a juggle combo on hit. This move is also immune to throws, making Maya very difficult to grab. Another incredibly annoying tool that she has is her forward heavy kick. This move becomes airborne on frame 1, which means that if you hit her out of this attack, she will fall out of it. If the move you hit her with isn't a hard knockdown and has a lot of recovery, you are susceptible to being punished for simply trying to meaty her wake up. Not to mention her backdash goes incredibly far, getting her out of a lot of scary situations. Don't be afraid to use these tools to make your opponent scared to attack your wake up. Our next character is Kan-Ra. There is no question that the most valuable thing about Kan-Ra's toolkit is his curse, which means you should be trying to curse your opponent every single chance you get. If you have the opportunity to punish your opponent with a throw, just take the throw. Normally, throw punishes are seen as unoptimal and get a bad rap because you are usually missing out on some damage. This might be true, however the resource that your throw offers you is an absolute game changer for this character, and allows him to set up shop with scarabs and sand more safely than he could against a character moving at regular speeds. It is in your best interest to curse your opponent as frequently as possible. Just a reminder that the curse applied from the Scorpion Sting doesn't last nearly as long as the curse applied by his grab, so keep that in mind. Happy cursing! The next character we are going to be talking about is Riptor. She has some of the best rushdown in the game. What really makes this character shine is her Predator stance cancels. When you press all 3 kicks with Riptor, she goes into Predator stance. This stance gives her 6 follow-ups that she can use to make her opponents guess on her offense. But she can also use this stance to bait the opponent. If you use your shoulder charge, she immediately goes into Predator stance without the need to manually cancel into it. However, if you cancel out of the Predator stance, you can often catch the opponent off guard with a throw, or start your pressure all over again. The next character on our list is Omen. By KI's standards, Omen is a very mediocre damage output character, which means that you need to open up your opponent a lot more times to take a life bar. If you aren't counter-breaking them to death, of course. The best way to open up your opponent is to put them in as many high pressure situations as possible. Since he builds a ton of meter, you want to often use Shadow Rashakuken. You can safely get this out after your Slide Ender or your Orta Ender, which launches the opponent. Use this in conjunction with your incredibly hard to block instant air overheads, as well as empty jump lows to constantly loop this situation over and over again, and put your opponent in the blender. The next character we are going to talk about is Aganos. This character is busted, but you might not be playing him right. The biggest reason why this character is so top tier is because he is able to get incredibly high damage off of unbreakable combos. To get these combos, you need to understand how to use Shadow Payload. Shadow Payload is a launcher that allows you to set up a wall, build a chunk back, and put your opponent through the wall. This is the closest thing in Killer Instinct to an actual B&B combo, because it's optimal in the sense that this is what you want to save your meter for as Aganos 90% of the time. You can combo into Shadow Payload off of your medium roll, your far standing heavy punch, your close standing heavy kick, your overhead, or if you hit confirm, the thrown Peacemaker. This combo is absolutely 100% necessary to know if you are an Aganos player. The next character we're going to talk about is Hisako. The scariest thing about this character isn't her jump scares. It's her reset potential. At higher levels, you can see Hisako players using her hit advantage off of her staggers, linkers, and even her auto doubles to reset the opponent with either a strike or a throw. This is crucial for Hisako because her entire game plan revolves around being a walking blender, so you want your opponent to be as uncomfortable as possible at all times. If they are holding up out of your combos to avoid the grab reset, simply drop the combo and meaty them with a crouching medium kick instead. If they are holding down back in an effort to crouch block a low, reset them with a TK on Ryozan to land a free hard knockdown and continue your blender however you please. Next up is Cinder. Cinder's main win condition in Killer Instinct is to use his burnout enders. Ending combos with quarter circle back heavy punch will burn out the opponent's arms, and quarter circle back heavy kick will burn out the opponent's legs. This means if they do any input associated with that limb, they will fan the flames and increase their own potential damage. Yikes. As a Cinder player, it is important to know ahead of time which limbs you want to burn for each character to hinder their toolset. For instance, against Jago, it's advised to burn his arms before his legs so that it becomes very risky for him to throw fireballs, use his DP to anti-air, or use his overhead attack. Control the pace of the game with each burnout, and when the white life is built up high, watch your opponent squirm uncomfortably on the screen and look for an opportunity to hit them with a big cash out. The last character in Season 2 is ARIA. The thing that makes ARIA such a powerful character is her assists. Using her assists properly can create some of the most difficult pressure in the game to defend against. Her base body assist sends out a beam that locks down the opponent. Her blade body assist has invincibility frames and can be used to safely pressure the opponent as well. Her booster body assist is an insane zoning tool that you can use in conjunction with her base body. Be careful using these assists at the wrong time, however, as they can take damage in neutral if left open, which means you'd be losing a lot more life than you normally would for getting hit on the ground. Our first Season 3 character is Kim Woo. Even a low tier hero like Kim Woo still has a method to her madness. One of the best things about Kim Woo is her Dragon Resource. Understanding how to use the Dragon cancels effectively in your offense can apply some serious pressure to your opponent. For instance, you could use your Light Dragon Dance overhead attack to condition your opponent to stand block from a distance. Then, once you have a dragon, you can use the Light Dragon Dance and cancel out of it early to dash at your opponent and go low or for a throw instead. Her dragons are also a great mobility tool as well. She can use her dragon cancels in the air to get an air dash that can make for some hard to block cross-ups. Next up, we have Tusk. Being an efficient Tusk player is all about understanding how the character can impose his will on his opponent. Tusk doesn't have much for traditional 50-50 mix-ups with overheads or lows, so he has to rely on his incredibly strong strike throw game. Use your standing light kick up close to pressure your opponent with a plus-on block attack that leaves them in throw range. Cancel your far medium kick into your command dash to put your opponent in danger up close. Use your stagger ender to leave your opponent in hit stun and force them to guess what you are about to do next. If you can pressure them well enough and force them to lock out, you can get some serious damage with this character. Next up is our first guest character, Arbiter. Arbiter is a defensive monster in this game. When you have your instinct available, this character becomes very scary to contest. You can use your instinct freeze frame to see what your opponent is doing on your wake up and reply with whatever the right answer may be. If there is a projectile in your way, simply ignore it and allow your overshield to take the hit for you. No need to parry it. If a throw or a command grab is starting up, you can use your Prophet's Bane command grab to gain throw immunity and launch them into a grenade or knock them down with your bullets. If they're meeting you with an attack, you can use your instinct parry to get a big punish. Next up is Rash. I don't really think I need to give tips with this character, but if I had to pick one, it would be to use more boot. Light boot specifically. Light boot is a very fast, safe special move that is incredibly hard for a lot of characters to challenge. With special move priority and a huge hitbox, this move is an incredible move to throw out as a footsie tool. His heavy and medium boots are also unsafe, but become harder to challenge when he is spaced further back. These can be very easily picked up with juggle combos of your choosing. It's Rash. The world is your oyster, amigo. Next up is my favorite character in KI, Mira. Using Mira, one of the most important things you have in your kit is your Shadow Bloodseekers. This tool is great for locking down the opponent and getting your mix-up started. You can jail into Shadow Bloodseekers with Light Trefine or Standing Heavy Kick, and this shadow move cannot be shadow countered. Once they begin blocking, you can use Medium Bloodseekers to create another obstacle for them when they are coming out of block stun. You can also instead use this time to set up a nasty, hard to block air situation because Mira has some of the best ambiguous cross-ups in the game. If you cancel the first hit of Shadow Bloodseekers into Instinct, you have enough time to pop your Instinct Vampire Mist as well as activate the Medium Bloodseekers. Happy mixing! Moving right along, we have Gargos. Gargos is the puppet character of Killer Instinct, so it's no surprise this character starts out relatively strong and then becomes stronger as the match progresses. One of the strongest things besides his minions, though, is his instinct. The instinct he has gives him hyper armor, which allows him to absorb all incoming attacks except for throws and grounded heavy normals. You can use this armor up close to mix your opponent with crouching light kick, instant overhead jumping medium punch, and your command grab options. This can net you a lot of free damage very quickly, as well as grant you reset potential, and of course, build your shadow meter for those sweet, sweet minions. Our final guest character on the list is General RAAM. RAAM is the resident grappler of Killer Instinct, and he actually has two things he needs to do to win a match. Apply the Krill and land the grabs. That's it. Using your damage ender on a level 1 or 2 cash out is pretty much never worth it unless it's going to take their life bar. Instead, prioritize Emergence or Krill Rush enders, which give you a knockdown and hit advantage respectively, as well as the damage over time debuff. Be sure to check your opponents with your light normals up close to catch them trying to wiggle out of your grabs, and confirm into Decimation to continue to loop the situation. The damage racks up fast with the damage over time, and his deadly instinct. Our last Season 3 character is Eyedol. This is a scary character who has a lot to offer. The best tip I can give to play this character is to know how to use his pips properly. Eyedol has his own resource that he builds by landing command grabs in the warrior form and landing telestrikes in the mage form. Your warrior pips are used by run canceling and jump canceling your attacks. Use this in conjunction with your very strong movement and strike throw game, and create a lot of hard to defend against situations. Your mage pips enhance your special moves, but where it particularly shines is with your bolt strike and your meteor strike. Enhanced bolt strike covers the screen with all of your bolt projectiles, which can be used reactively to stop your opponent in their tracks, while enhanced meteor strike creates a triple overhead, which can be used to make a very hard to block overhead/low situation up close. Entering Season 3.5, we have Kilgore. Being a zoner primarily, it can often be difficult to start your pressure properly with Kilgore. Since he has a couple of unsafe moves, you need to use your exhaust cancel to create more pressure. Your chain gun dash is normally quite unsafe, but when you exhaust cancel it, you can use this move to move towards the opponent safely and look for a hit confirm. This creates more opportunities for you. This cancel also gives him a freeze frame, just like an instinct, that can be used as such. Use this time to react to what your opponent is doing and punish them accordingly. The next character we have to talk about is Shin Hisako. Shin, much like her much cooler counterpart, can become a walking blender if she is set up properly. The fastest way to make this happen is by using her orb. If you knock down your opponent, you can set up the orb and swing your sword at it to create a projectile with it. This forces them to block this projectile on wake up and allows Shin the opportunity to go for a mix-up using her strikes, forward dash, which sends her in the air, as well as her instant cross-up spirit slice. Using all these tools together with her instinct grabby hands makes for guaranteed pressure, and your opponent will have to decide whether to get hit by Shin or to take the hands. And finally, the last character on our list is Eyedol. Eyedol has some of the best corner game in all of Killer Instinct. The best way to play this character is to make his offense as hard to block as possible at all times. Keep your combos short and end with the hard knockdown ender. This will allow you to shoot your overhead arrows as well as call his bird to perform the screech attack. In this time, your opponent has to precisely block the incoming overhead arrows, as well as guess when an incoming lower throw might be. This requires very tight timing and practice, and with this offensive strategy alone, you can easily defeat most players. Blocking this setup is way easier said than done, and when hit by it, it loops into itself once again. And there it is, that's one tip with every single character in the entire game. If you guys want to see more of this, then maybe I'll do some dedicated guides per character and break them down one by one if you want it. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.